Welcome to Season 2 of Unspoken Truth. This will be a journey of self discovery, healing, and bringing out the best version of ourselves and learning the art of being unapologetic, secure in who we are, and loving ourselves first before we love others, knowing when to choose ourselves and letting go of what doesn't serve us. Join me on this journey of discovering unspoken truths and changing the narrative. This is from a woman who's just like you, a mother, a sister, a daughter, and God's child, and in everything else in between. I am still an individual riding the waves of life. I am Nita Terry T, your host of Unspoken Truth. Episode 1. Welcome back, my listeners, to Season 2 of Unspoken Truth. In this episode, we'll tackle the topic of Dear You. What do you contribute to a relationship? Relationships never die a natural death. They are always murdered by attitude, behavior, ego, or ignorance. We all want to find ourselves in a relationship, right? Others more desperately than others. Though, do we ever take the time to ask ourselves what we contribute in a relationship that we so badly want and seek? When I came across this very topic, I sat down and asked myself what it was that I wanted and what I added within a relationship and what gave me the ultimate right to feel that I am the ideal partner for someone else. Lately, you find us women asking for the very things we also do not have, such as the most famous statement, I do not want a broke guy, or I do not want a guy without a car. It is easy for us to point out the things we want and damn be specific about them, but never take a minute to realize that we might have nothing to contribute into a relationship too. A pretty face doesn't pay bills, and that's a fact. Beauty with no brains doesn't motivate anyone to go out there and secure the bag. We might want the finer things in life, but some women aren't willing to put in the work. These aren't ancient times when women stayed home and raised children. We now live in a world where we meet each other halfway, and we both contribute different aspects or attributes of our life to make the relationship work. It's time we call it out and name it, because we all know what we think we contribute. The question is it enough? Because this season we will aim to be the best version of ourselves. We need to ask ourselves the hard questions. The truth hurts, but it also heals. And it lets us evolve into better people. Let me share a story. When it comes to relationships, my personality is secure attachment style, meaning I am very much confident in myself. I know who I am within a relationship and the qualities I have. I am very independent and not codependent on my partners. My weakness when I'm in a relationship is extreme altruism, meaning I'm willing to help my partner out of a jam and even take on some of the burdens of his or her problems. Some of you would say that, come on, Nita, that's a good quality. A good quality that you bring into a relationship, don't you think? Wanting to see your better half living their best life? Though, at what cost? At what cost? I suffer with extreme altruism. I tend to allow my partners to become extremely codependent on me. I carry more than I can handle. I always run at risking my well-being. I have taken partners to school, paid tuition at the cost of sacrificing my education. I have poured fuel. I have paid monthly installments for cars that didn't even belong to me. I am selfless in these qualities that I contribute, and it might sound as if I'm the best ride or die. Instead, I burn out. I never learn that the best way to aid someone is to help them help themselves. I constantly fix and putting their needs first and mine last. I won't get into too many details though. We need to understand the things we contribute to relationships, whether they are good or bad, because they make us or break us. And being selfless can be a great attribute to a point. And sometimes being codependent on others is very bad. You burn out your partner. We need to learn to understand ourselves first. Once we do that, it is easier for us to bring the best versions of ourselves. We constantly put ourselves out there, but never sit down and ask ourselves the question of what we bring in a relationship. Sometimes what makes or breaks a relationship is our qualities and values. They might differ because if they do not match with the other counterpart, it is bound to end in tears. And we end up pointing fingers on who hurt who instead of looking at what made the relationship fail in the first place. We must not lean too much on the other party, but just enough so we don't crash and burn them. Some traits can be adding less when you could be working hard to meet them halfway. It is not that person's responsibility to take care of all your needs. I repeat, it is not the responsibility of that person to take care of all your needs. When they have needs too, and maybe you might not be noticing them. Every one of us always cries out for help, and even in silence, a relationship dies. So knowing when to bring and what the next person brings could be a great combination of a long-lasting relationship, transparency with no judgment. Also, at times, knowing where you both stand can be the solution to avoiding heartache. Communication in all the episodes in this podcast has shown to reign supreme. Speak and be understood, be heard clearly, and the person listening must receive without judgment or twisting it to suit them. One thing I've noticed is that relationships are not easy when we walk in blinded by love. We need to put in the work of fixing ourselves before we throw ourselves in other people's hands. And that starts with learning to be alone. In your silence, you'll discover yourself. Life is for loving. Life is love. But it gets lost in the noise of wanting to be wanted. Instead, sit back and look at the world around you and what you need. Let's work on minimizing heartache and start preparing ourselves for the next best thing. I've come to believe that on this life journey, we all have somebody who has control over who we'll end up with, who our soulmates are. God has a plan for us. Our spiritual guides has a plan for us. Our angels, Yahweh, whoever you call your spiritual guides, whoever is your God, He has a plan for you. Instead, we put matters in our own hands and find ourselves hurting and putting ourselves in such a mess that can sometimes linger with us for the rest of our lives. We make decisions when we are too young that we cannot take back. We make decisions because we thought we did it out of love, but sometimes we could have done it out of codependency. We all have traits. I'll touch more on traits on the next episode. But for now, let's master who we are, what we bring into a relationship. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first, unknown. We all need to understand our attachment styles, dig in deep to understand who we are and what we think is good for us, and also the ones we bring into our lives. What makes a great relationship is being equal team players. You both have to bring the best out of each other. No one is supposed to do above and beyond. At times, we also need to fear being a burden on others. If you have nothing to give, then put in the time to work on yourself. And do not imprison others for your selfish reasons. No one belongs to anyone. We are all individuals within a relationship. So let's kill manipulations and narcissistic behaviors that we tend to have in relationships just because we want to keep that relationship, but we do not know whether it's good for us or not. And we do not even know what we contribute in that specific relationship. Self-love is not selfish. You cannot truly love another until you know how to love yourself, unknown. Follow me on Instagram and subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcast. I am Nita Terry T, your host of Unspoken Truth. Until the next episode, remember, everything in life comes with divine order, divine timing, and divine presence. Dear you, you're going to be just fine. I thank you.
The Unspoken Truth is the catalyst for important and thought-provoking conversations that need to be had. The network tackles social ills, spiritual healing, soul searching, and mental health awareness. To subscribe, click on the show link to follow our podcast and be part of the Unspoken Truth family. Find us on all social media platforms.